thank Kim Jong-Un, who really was excellent to these three incredible people. They are really three incredible people.
Early this morning, President Trump greeted 3 Americans freed from North Korean labor camps after up to 2 years in detention, thanked their captor, Kim Jong-Un, for being, quote, really excellent to them. Shortly after that, Trump announced he would meet with Kim in Singapore on June 12th in a high-stakes summit in which the U.S. will attempt, apparently, to convince North Korea to give up its nuclear program. Joining me now, former Obama State Department spokesperson and senior advisor Nayyera. Also with me, Nation correspondent Tim Shorrock, who writes frequently about U.S. policy in Asia and the Korean Peninsula. Nayyera, let me start with you from the sort of U.S. perspective here. What do you think the priority for the U.S. government, U.S. policy is going to the summit to get from North Korea?
Right. So there's the political reality we're in right now, which is not having a summit at Mar-a-Lago is considered a success. And we're dealing with a president who is operating under the madman theory, where let's see what happens when you throw 2 people together who aren't really focused on diplomacy and the nuances of give and take and negotiation, and see what happens. So that's pretty high stakes negotiation. The best that we could get would be a conversation in which they walk away to agree to continue talking. That's the standard kind of thing you have when things haven't been pre-baked in the way that they normally would be. I think it would be ideal would be if we were to get a kind of deal that we had with Iran, which is unprecedented access to nuclear sites, right? In Iran, the IAEA had 12 people on the ground every day. They took apart 15,000 uranium enrichment facilities. That's progress. That's a big deal. To get to that in North Korea is going to be very, very challenging because there's zero incentive for Kim to do that.
Right. Well, Tim, I mean, North Korea, first of all, already is far more advanced in what they have than Iran. And also, they just watched the Americans walk away from the Iran deal. I wonder how you think that will impact the dynamics going into this summit.
Well, first of all, I think it's unfair to characterize the meeting as was just characterized. I don't think they're just throwing them together and hope for the best. I think there's been a lot of planning and has gone on here, and the chief planner has been President Moon Jae-in of South Korea, who has been very, very involved in this, you know, from the top, from January, from this time this diplomacy began. And he's going to be here on May 22nd to meet with President Trump. And they're going to, you know, go over very carefully, you know, what they want to accomplish and what Trump wants to accomplish at this meeting. Second, you know, Mike Pompeo, who just became Secretary of State, just came back from there last night with these prisoners from North Korea, and he spent a few days there. The head of the CIA's Korea Mission Center was also with him. So there's been a lot of contact between the two governments, and I think there's been a lot of planning here. It's not going to be some kind of haphazard meeting, and I'm actually quite optimistic about it. I think that they have a clear deal on the table here, which is, you know, North Korea obviously wants to focus on its economy, believes it has a deterrent force against the United States, and it can negotiate from a principle of strength with the United States, and then they can start talking about ending their program and getting to the point where President Trump, the United States, the UN, and other countries will lift sanctions. I think that's their chief goal.
Here's a big challenge that we have at the United States right now is we don't even have an ambassador to South Korea. So all of this conversation is really reliant upon South Korea's leadership and their specific agenda for what needs to happen in the region. We haven't brought in China under U.S. auspices, and they're critical to making sure that information and technology doesn't continue flowing through North Korea. So there are several missing pieces that you would normally have involved in this negotiation, and that is entirely because of the Trump administration's inability to staff with experts or confirm people in positions of authority.
It also seems to me, Tim, that Moon Jae-in, who has been the leader in this, it clearly has taken the sort of the lead in it, right? I mean, the announcement itself happens when the delegation from South Korea passes along the invitation to the White House, right? At a certain point, you wonder if there's divergent interest between South Korea and the U.S. I think it seems smart and altogether makes sense that South Korea is taking the lead. It's their peninsula. It's their neighbor. They're the ones most under threat. But one wonders when the actual Trump administration is there and people like Bolton and others are involved, if they're going to have different sort of red lines than, say, South Korea.
Well, look, all last year, the United States and many of the pundits here in Washington wanted China to be involved, wanted China to be the one who would be the interlocutor with North Korea and the intermediary between the U.S. and North Korea. It's now South Korea, and that's much better for Korea. Remember, these are Korean people, 50 million in South Korea, 25 million in North Korea, who want to end this Korean War that ended in an armistice. That's why Moon has been such an important force here and has been so strong on getting a peace agreement. And I think, all the pieces are there for a structured agreement. And I frankly think it's a very good thing that China's not there at this point.
Certainly, we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of the human rights elements in all of this, and trying to rush towards a deal that may or may not denuclearize. We don't know what that definition is yet. That this is not at the expense of the people of North Korea, and fixing and using United States leverage of sanctions to fix some of the atrocities that have been going on there.
All right, Nayyera and Tim Shorrock, thank you both for being with me. Appreciate it. All right.